Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Brought to you by Bawamba, the hunger rapist.
I retract my gripe.
Well, moles.
Workout moo-moo.
You know, truck balls and...
Coffee shop in, like, Scandahuvia.
Costco was like Mega City 1.
I am disgusting.
Ouch my balls.
Crudidity, baby.
It's kind of what presidents do, right? Crudidity.
By movie.
Broadcasting live from inside the power band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, Mulvarang. Along with my two idiot friends, Zarhigo.
Hello.
And Orange Sassy Squirrel.
Shut up. Base your ass on my fist.
Guys, before we get started, I just want to remind everybody to check us out on social media using the handle @EBD Podcast. You can find us on most places. We spend a lot of time chatting on Instagram, so please join in on the conversation. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, folks. This week, in honor of Election Week, we're talking about a highly political film entitled Idiocracy from 2006, the Mike Judge masterpiece, which is now almost a social documentary rather than a comedy film. So let's dive in.
Brought to you by Bawamba, the hunger rapist.
There you go. And Brondo.
So much ridiculous fake product placement in this. It's so good.
So 2006 Mike Judge film. We all love Mike Judge. This is brought to the table and suggested by Yarhigo. Or no, actually it was suggested by Sea Squirrel Lab Sassy.
Sea Lab for sass.
So where do we start with this incredibly short film? High level. Let me pose a question. Why is this movie so short? Like that's my first question. Like it's a good movie. It's funny. It's, you know, obviously a lot of comedy movies are social commentaries. This is most definitely a social commentary. And even to the point that I read an article saying that it is now more or less a documentary about society. That article came out in 2014, and we will link that in the show notes. But my question is, like, it's a good movie. It had a small budget. Why is it not a little bit longer? Like, I can't really...
It was surprising, for sure. But I don't know. I kind of get the feeling like once you've told the story, like, don't need to fluff it out and add padding to it. Like, I don't know. You kind of thought it would at least hit 120 minutes or whatever, or an hour and a half maybe, but it didn't even get to an hour and a half. It was like 70 minutes.
It probably had something to do with the $4 million budget.
84 minutes is the runtime.
Oh, really? 84? Oh, okay.
Okay, I thought it was 75.
I retract my gripe then, but still, it just fell short as shit.
Well, it's still squeaking in there, man. I mean, the runtime on the copy I watched it just said an hour 20. So that would be, what, 80? Without
intro and outro credits and stuff?
Right, exactly.
I just was surprised at how quickly it went, and then immediately was like, man, that was kind of like a season finale of a TV show. You know, sometimes the season finales bump an extra 20 minutes on the hour runtime. It just kind of felt like a show in a way. But, I mean, it was perfectly reasonable, story. It didn't feel like it was cut short, there's only so much you can do, I guess, beating the jokes into the ground.
I guess. I mean, with a $4 million budget, you really don't have a lot of latitude, especially considering the caliber of some of the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pacing was good as it was, so I can't really, maybe we can petition Mike Judge for an extended cut.
Director's cut? That'd be so good.
The director's cut. Add some deleted scenes, I'm sure there's probably some pretty good jokes in there that we didn't get to see.
Probably. I'm sure there's probably plenty of improv stuff they could add back in or something, too.
Oh, no doubt.
I didn't realize just how bad this flopped intentionally by the studio. Like, they didn't give a fuck about this movie.
Really?
Did you see any of that stuff? I saw some info that 20th Century Fox sat on the completed movie for a year, and then they were pissed off with the criticism of all of the corporations, so they tried to jam it through straight to DVD, but the contract said it had to have a theatrical release, so they put it in a handful of theaters and then pulled it after a week. And it said so little effort was put into showing the film that some of the theaters were forced to promote it as Untitled Mike Judge Project. It's like,
wow.
What?
They really fucking torpedoed this thing. It was really surprising.
Holy shit.
That's really surprising.
I mean, I kind of understand the queasiness of their corporate overlords with all of the shit talking, but still, that was some pretty messed up stuff.
Very.
So $495,000 total worldwide box office on a $4 million budget.
That was the box?
Yep.
Holy moly.
I have a lot more sympathy for the movie now that I learned that today.
You know what? It's like they pitched the movie, they gave it the green light, they made the movie, and then they handed them the finished product, and they were like, wait, this kind of makes fun of like a lot of like corporations and drinks and stuff. We can't put this movie out. You know, it's like, did you read the script?
It's like it's almost a meta critique of the whole thing. It's super funny. I mean, it's fucking Mike Judge, for Christ's sake. Office Space, Beavis and Butthead. Like, of course it's going to be like this.
Exactly.
I guess that explains why the first time I saw it was on DVD, I believe.
I must have caught it on like Comedy Central once or something, but it's still like super hazy with me as to when and how I encountered it for the first time.
Right on. Why don't we do a sort of, I don't know, quasi high level and what you thought of it when you first saw it versus what you thought of it now. Short stroking, of course.
What I remember of my first viewing is this is dumb but kind of funny in a Mike Judgy way. But it wasn't overly relevant to me at the time. And now, obviously, the silliness in which we live makes it a bit more on the nose and more funny and relevant. And maybe in terms of the only high-level thing I have for this is that the one thing I really like about it, which we'll probably dive into in a few minutes, is the premise. The whole like opening 5 minutes of the wealthy people waiting for the right moment to have kids versus the other people, like, you know, having tons and tons of kids. It's just kind of a funny premise taken to the extreme of how can we tell a story about this. And it's just kind of a interesting and funny sci-fi premise.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yes.
Blueberry Higo?
Let me see. I distinctly remember finding out after the fact that this was a Mike Judge movie and being like, oh, okay, that makes even more sense. But I laughed a lot throughout this movie the first time I watched it. I got a lot of joy out of just all the fake products and their slogans. And, you know, there's not a whole ton of jokes that are illustrated by the actors in the film, but there's just a lot of shit going on in the world that's really funny. And I don't know, I really appreciated all of that. I was feeling it.
Right on, man.
And this viewing was more of the same?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is one I've seen numerous times.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Molves?
Molves. I was reminiscing as I was driving down the road in my Oldsmobile.
Your Moldsmobile? I'm going to argue that with you the whole way.
What, the name of the vehicle?
I think it's kind of funny that we would have opposing views as to the vehicle that you drive. Like, I can have an opinion.
Well, it's especially funny because you were the one that came up with that name. And now you're disputing your own name.
Hey, man, it sounds like me.
Sounds like something we talk about on this show. That's for damn sure. When I first saw this, I didn't know it was a Mike Judge movie. And I thought it was kind of dumb, to be honest with you. I didn't find it very funny. I was like, this is just a dumb mess. Like, the only things that I remembered, which I thought were very funny, were, of course, extra big-ass fries and extra big-ass tacos. And that was it. That was the only things that really stuck with me. Other than that, I was like, whatever. It was probably just in the last couple of years that I figured out that it was a Mike Judge film. And then I had a similar kind of reaction that Ben had. I was like, oh, okay, got it. I did 2 viewings this time around because it was so easy to do 2 viewings. It took 5 minutes. And I found it quite funny. And watching it with my present-day Wolverine eye, it was quite funny. And I enjoyed it. And not just because it kind of is so relevant to just the ridiculous state of the world right now, but I don't know, it's just funny. And I love, like, good product spoofs and...
Being a huge Joe Fowler fan.
Yeah, exactly, right? Hey, all you folks out there know that, right? Joe Fowler here.
Joe Fowler midroll this week. Wait for it.
This episode brought to you by the Toilet Spoon.
You know, I love good product spoofs. I mean, I love that sort of stuff. Like, you know, you see it in GTA, and it's fantastic. It always makes me laugh.
That's totally... I couldn't place where I saw the silly product bullshittery, but thank you. That's exactly where I've heard it all before, and it's so delightful in those GTA games.
Exactly, in that kind of Andy Kaufman kind of way, you know. Ha, 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 I know what that is, and I'm smarter than you. You know, so
Rusty Brown's Ring Donuts.
Exactly, man. You know, Zebra Bar. And what's the other one? Not Canyonero. They had something like the Canyonero.
Canyonero is good.
But
they had one like it, though.
They did.
Insert half-a-second clip to jog your memory here.
Knights of the Road, here's your stallion.
Yes, exactly. It was the power of nature distilled into one vehicle.
Maibatsu Thunder.
Good stuff. So, yeah, all those GTA commercials, loved them, man. So this is very much in line with that, and I really enjoyed it. What can I say? It's funny. I just kind of was like, it's a little short, man, in the sense that I feel like, you know, they spend quite a bit of time on the beginning, you know, doing the setup, opening the whole thing. You know, you get all this exposition about how the world is just gone to hell from an IQ standpoint and all of that. And we meet Not Sure for the first time. And, you know, we get the whole thing, Maya Rudolph, we get in the pods, and then we go. That's like a pretty solid half an hour.
Yeah,
so
it really takes a while.
You know, there's not really a ton of time left to do much storytelling in the movie. Now, you don't really have to tell much story, but I would argue that they could have just kind of fleshed out the ridiculousness of that future world. And I think that would have been hysterical. But, you know, again, on a $4 million budget, I don't know how much fleshing out you really are afforded. So that's my story.
There was a decent amount of visual effects as well, which probably would have cost a few bucks.
Absolutely, man. Like the garbage tidal wave or avalanche or whatever
the
the hell it
Great
was.
Garbage Avalanche.
Exactly.
That is a really funny concept. A garbage avalanche. Yeah, to this day, I can't see anybody drink like a Gatorade or a Powerade without thinking, Brondo, the thirst mutilator. Like, it just, every time I think of that, every time.
I'm going to think about it now, that's for sure. Because I kind of glossed over that, I would say, when I originally watched it. And I never watched it again between then and now. So
It's got what plants crave.
Electrolytes. That scene at the table in the cabinet meeting where they just keep saying electrolytes has got what plants crave over and over again. It's just fucking hysterical, man. That cabinet is just so funny.
yeah, the cabinet is really good.
And I mean, on that cabinet scene, it's a good example of, you know, the first thing that came to mind after you mentioned the setup being 30-odd minutes, not leaving much time, is that the rest of the shtick is just, you know, over and over again, really dumb people saying really dumb stuff. Like, you could kind of understand how it would get old quickly if they did another 2 hours of just the same thing. So I kind of get how kind of short and sharp it gets, but at the same time, like, it has its funny moments for sure.
No doubt. You're right about that. Your comment about how it's just dumb people saying dumb stuff. I think that's what turned me off when I watched it the first time. You know, I was kind of like, this is kind of dumb. I think I was looking at it like, this is kind of dumb, lowbrow humor, you know? And I was like, I don't find this funny, but I don't think I was watching this with the right lens the first time. And clearly they, you know, prevented this movie from really getting out there and, you know, did a pretty good job of it, even though everybody's sort of discovered it on their own. But yeah, I wasn't watching it with the right lens. And now watching it, I'm like, you know, all the people saying dumb stuff is funny.
And they barely say coherent lines at all, and yet it still kind of makes the point. So it's almost impressive with just the level of stupidity. You know, it's very meta.
Yeah, it's very cool because it so much mirrors just the complete asinine nature of people now. And this was really, I mean, you're talking 2006, really. This is like not pre-internet, but pre-second wave internet.
It's pre-smartphone.
Well, it's pre-smartphone. And then, you know, like the 90s, it was like .com boom, blah, blah, blah. And nobody was really using the internet back then. So this is still kind of before the smartphones came out and everybody really started using the internet, you know, and discovering what the internet was really good for and bad for. But yeah,
in a way, if it was made a few years later, it probably would have had a completely different approach because it would have just been like everyone looking down at their phones all the time. So I kind of like that it was just before that blew up, you know? It makes it a little bit nostalgic in a way.
Agree.
It's kind of like sometimes you encounter a sci-fi movie that's like retro-futuristic, so it'll be like a 60s Jetsons-y flavor to it, but it's meant to take place in the distant future, and I kind of think this is like the pre-iPhone internet, you know, retro future. And it's a complete debacle, which is even funnier, you know?
And I think it's important to point out, as I pointed out to you last night, Chad, that this definitely qualifies as a science fiction film. So it's perfectly in our purview, you know?
I didn't notice at all the lack of smartphones. Didn't even think about it.
No, same. But now that you mention it, it definitely is like, oh yeah.
Well, it's interesting that even though there were no smartphones in the movie, and those hadn't even been invented, they weren't even a glint in anyone's eye yet. Like, they still managed to really convey that level of insane, like, kind of media and product assault that we get now, which is just at ludicrous levels now. But even without that stuff, you know, they were able to convey that in the film, and I thought they did a really good job of it. You know, it was just, everything was so in your face all the time. And it was really just coming from TV, signs, sides of buildings, print ads, you know?
Clothing. All their clothing was like
Yeah,
Gatorade
clothing,
logos
exactly.
and shit. Or whatever, Brondo.
What would you say? Okay, so here's a question. What would you say the fashion sort of sense is in this movie? Is it like, I'm feeling like it's like track.
It's kind of like a workout moo-moo. It's kind of like an extension of the whole, like, I don't know what they call it. It's like athleisure, you know? Like, I love how nowadays there's a whole segment of clothing that's just meant to make it look like you went to the gym, but you didn't actually go to the gym. Like,
Oh, God.
it's so funny.
I know, it's ridiculous, man.
But it's a huge thing. It's like it makes sense when you think about the social signal you're giving off in terms of like trying to make it look like you work out, but you just don't. You know, it just took that to the next level of like branded, loose fitting sport fabric muumuus. You know, like it's just perfect.
It's like the equivalent of like the 80s, 90s velour tracksuit.
Right. But it's just like ill-fitting, horribly cheap fabric with logos all over it.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was getting like the sateen boxers come large sort of vibe from
Totally.
Hammer pants, kind of.
I don't want to say satin because that would be too, I don't, you know.
Well, that'd be too highbrow, Ben.
yeah, like really just polyester basically. But yeah, just the fact that you could like you just pull your clothes out of like something that sort of looks like the dispenser for the toilet gasket, you know, like the
Yes.
the like, you know, paper toilet protector you put down, like that's what you pull your clothes out of. And that is just,
it's perfect.
Brilliant.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I suppose that, you know, feeds right into the intro to the lawyer guy who ends up being the lawyer, like sitting on his shitter chair, eating lard with his finger and like drinking something out of a nipple in a tube. Like it just is such a perfect encapsulation of the kind of Wall-E-esque, you know, decline of society. The sateen mixed with the shitter chair is just perfection, man.
Yes, Frito as portrayed by Dax Shepard.
Yeah, so good, man, so good. And you know, just
I love the reveal of how when he stands up, he has to pull his pants up, and then the toilet flushes. You're like, oh,
exactly.
Oh, I didn't catch any of that, man. So you're saying that when what's his name flies through his window on the avalanche of trash,
garbage avalanche.
He was sitting on basically a TV Barca lounger that also doubles as a toilet.
It was a toilet seat. As soon as he stood up, there was a toilet seat there, and it flushed.
And he kind of had to hike his pants up. Yeah,
his Gatorade branded hammer pants.
Gatorade braided hammer pants.
Branded Gatorade branded hammer pants.
Hammer pants.
Oh shit, you're right. Like all of the attire in this movie is very MC Hammer.
I mean, even to the point where the cabinet members have like MC Hammer presidential seal medals around their neck, so it kind of works.
Giant medallions.
Just a very, very brief circle back to what you were saying before, Kev, about the kind of dialogue of the dumb people being meta. I couldn't imagine reading the script where like half of the script would just be fucking gibberish, where there's no visual to kind of cue you up with what's going on necessarily, and there's no, you know, cold reader. You're just like reading, like the opening line of Dax Shepard's character is, "Shut up, I'll base your ass on my fist, on your face, ass, shut up." And it is so funny. But just reading it like that is just like, what the fuck am I reading, you know?
I love the narrator describes their, future patois as sort of like a mix of, what is it, like hillbilly, valley girl, inner city jargon, and various grunting.
Yeah, various grunting, yes.
You know what I really enjoyed was the language of the cops.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
They're just like, oh, this particular individual does not have a tattoo. Is this particular individual the mother of the children? That, they are always going on about particular individuals.
They're trying to sound smart, but they're just complete morons.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they're trying to speak like you would hear, law enforcement guys speaking today, but they're just so dumb that they end up sort of foiling themselves and looking stupid every single turn.
I don't remember the line specifically, but later on when, Frito and Owen Wilson are hanging out in the apartment and the cops knock on the door, they're like, we're going to bust the door down. And they're just like, no, you're not. They're like, oh, wait, what? Like that's obviously just not at all what the line was, but that was the gist of it, where you're just like, these cops are trying to act tough, but they're just confused by someone saying no, Oh, it's just perfect. Perfect example of it.
Yeah, it's akin to the meat popsicle scene.
Or kind of like, I kind of get a Vogon vibe, like all the Vogon soldiers just being complete idiots.
Okay. Yep. I'm feeling that.
Definitely.
And also, I felt like, Ben, the apartment, I don't know, maybe it was the yellow, but it still definitely had a kind of vibe of the Corbin Dallas apartment in the 500 block,
Yeah, and the Fifth Element, definitely. I don't know which came first, but
chicken or the egg.
I wonder if there was a whore's de-over.
Ooh, nice EBD reference, dude. Yeah, I think let's see, Fifth Element, if IIRC came out in 97.
Yeah, 97, 98.
Yeah, so this would have been 8 years after that.
But it perfectly communicated the disposable nature of living arrangements and clothing and food and stuff. So it's a good hat tip for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. There's one more thing on the cops, like the way, like the font they used for police and the fact that their vehicles were covered with like tribal tattoo style markings. There's just something about that I found really funny.
It's almost like they let them decorate their own cars.
Right. At some point, the guy that came up with that design,
It went viral.
Well, also that, I don't know. I mean, is that? I mean, I'm guessing it's a nod to, a lot of cops have tribal tattoos. So in the future, they just put them all over their cars. Is that
works for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, tough guy culture and the kind of stupid shit they put on, supposed tough guys and the kind of stupid shit they put on their cars, like fucking,
oh God,
truck balls and like Calvin pissing on something, or like the no fair sticker or, just like all of that shit. Like the cop cars remind me of that. Like it seems like some future portrayal of that kind of,
level of wannabe tough guy.
Decorating your car with stupid tough guy shit. Yeah.
There was a quote from an interview with Mike Judge talking about the film, where he said when he was in like middle school, the math teacher asked a question and nobody answered, and then was like, oh, on the test Mike Judge was the only one that got it right, and like one of the kids in front of him turned around, he's like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass after school. And the movie was kind of like his attempt to have like, what if all of the kids that pretended that actually knowing what you're talking about in school wasn't lame took over society? He's like, I got chased down the road and called a fag for knowing the answer to the math question. And I think it perfectly encapsulates that like cop mentality in this, where it's just like all the kids that pretended to not be smart because it's the cool thing to do, like, oh, fuck you, teacher, I didn't do my homework, I'm cool.
Yeah.
It very much is in line with that.
Yeah, it's like pretending to not be smart actually led to just not being smart.
I mean, they did a great job of it. I think another thing that pops to mind with the cops is the when they are driving down the road and the car stops because they've read Luke Wilson's, or Owen Wilson. Is it Owen Wilson or Luke Wilson?
Luke Wilson.
When they stop Luke Wilson's car, they read Luke Wilson's barcode and stop the car, and then the cops come up and just blast the fucking car, and eventually Frito's like, oh, that's so cool. Like, they all kind of go like chimpanzee in the zoo about it, and like everyone's like super stoked, including the cops, and the thing's just like on fire, husk of a car, and they're just like shooting in the sky, and it's just a perfect example of it.
Yeah, an airplane goes down. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Crashes
Joe
in the
DeFrito's
back.
like, but that's your car, man.
I think that's the same airplane that we later see that has gone through the roof of the Costco that's the size of Connecticut.
Which was amazing.
I loved how Costco was like Mega City 1 in this movie. And
Frito's like, oh, I know my way around. I went to law school here. Like, it's just a perfect.
Yeah, totally.
So tongue-in-cheek.
And I forgot that, they were sort of busting on Costco in this movie. So when I saw that, as being a current huge Costco acolyte myself, it was very humorous to see that.
I was going to say, I thought it was interesting that they wove in actual businesses besides all their fantasy, brands like, H&R Block and Starbucks have both become like, I don't know, places you go to get a hand job.
Yeah, like massage parlors.
Well, that's
It's a possible snipe, but evidently people have sent Mike Judge various things that came true over the years, and there was a coffee shop in like Scandahuvia that would give sexual favors as well as lattes, and so someone sent that to him, which is pretty funny.
Well, there you go.
Extra foam. Nudge,
Ew.
nudge, wink, wink.
So gross.
The visual on that was disgusting, Benny. I hate you.
They say it in the movie.
Oh, did they? I must have missed it. You're still disgusting, Benny. God damn it.
I am disgusting, but that's besides the point. Sally Port, Kev. Sorry.
No, it just seemed like almost all of the businesses had some sort of like hand job component to them, or like massage parlor component to them, which was great. There was a great, like, they centered a lot around, people just basically sitting around masturbating all the time, so that component was like, proliferated throughout everything almost in the world. And, as we always talk about world building, like, this movie's got some great world building for a $4 million comedy.
They really went for the like monkeys in the zoo base element of our animal nature for sure.
Yeah, as lowbrow as it is, the constant, like, there's a scene where Joe is like, we got to find Rita. We could really utilize her, and they're like, utilize her, like very like Beavis and Butthead, and like. There's a scene. He's like, I really need a moment alone with Rita, and they're like, they're just not getting it. So he does like the finger in the whole thing, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. I especially liked the John who's trying to hire her for his services, and she keeps delaying him taking all of his money. Like, it's such a funny and clever addition to have Maya Rudolph playing a prostitute who is just like a fucking genius as a result of the stupidity around. It's just perfect. It's so funny. I completely forgot she was in this, man. I love Maya Rudolph.
I did. I completely forgot it too, man. I loved her in Bridesmaids. Ever since I saw that, I think she's brilliant.
Yeah, she's really good.
It's a lesser known movie of hers, Away We Go, which is a really good one too.
Okay, right on. There you go, folks at home. Check that out. Away We Go.
She's also the voice of Connie the hormone monstrous on Big Mouth on Netflix.
Is that right?
Yes, she is.
God, I still have not watched that, and it's sort of been on one of my radars.
Yeah, it's really funny.
You Must Land the Aircraft Now radar?
You must land your aircraft now.
Is it You Must Land Your Aircraft Now radar?
That would be the radar that it's on.
They sell the stupidity so well.
They do. They really, really do, man. And I did not get that when I watched this those many years ago. And this time I definitely got it for sure. It's brilliant. I mean, this one's definitely, I think this one, in addition to finding, somewhat of a cult following in the beginning, it took a while for it to bake in the oven too. And then I think later on, a lot more people kind of discovered the brilliance of the film, and not necessarily connected to the world just being crazy town,
It's a sleeper hit for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I kind of didn't put two and two together, even though it's super obvious that Mike Judge did Office Space, because it's like they're different movies for sure, and they have different cult followings, but like Office Space is just I don't know. There's more meat on the bones, I guess, so it's kind of easier to fall in love with it. Whereas this is super short and the kind of thrust of the movie is very basic and whatnot. It's still perfectly enjoyable and stuff, but like I kind of understand where you're coming from, where like it didn't hit the first time. It hit me at a medium pace the first time around. Like I didn't hate it or anything, but I kind of understand how it could miss people the first go around.
Oh, absolutely, because I was definitely dismissive about it first go round. So
it's definitely more crude than Office Space is.
For sure. But it's not,
right,
it doesn't fall down the Jackass cliff. Like, it doesn't end up, it's a satire on Jackass, where I've never really had much time for things like Jackass. It's just not my flavor.
Nor I.
And they obviously satirize it with, like, ouch my balls in this movie, you know, so.
I think, too, that it's like they're satirizing the crudity of the movie, so I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. Well, it is now. I hope it's not, so I can be the one that coined it. Crudity, you know, like, because you look at it.
I want to hear James Earl Jones say that.
That's going on the merch list.
There you go. Crudity, baby. I don't think that, or what I was driving at, rather, was that, you know, they're satirizing the crudity, and it's sort of easy to miss. Well, at least it was for me the first go round. But when you watch it again, or as I watched it again, you know, you can see that they are in fact satirizing it. It's not like that's the way the movie was written. So it makes it well, yeah, it's nuanced and it adds.
It's a means to an end. It's not.
I think it's more than a means.
It's not actually the substance of the film. You know what I mean?
No, but I think it's more than a means to an end, Ben. I think that it's, you know, that they're satirizing it, they're making fun of it, and there's brilliance in that. You know what I mean? Like, and Mike Judge is already great at doing that.
I think that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
right.
It's the perhaps I'm over explaining here, but the crudeness is
crudity.
The crudity. The crudity is not really the substance of the film. It's the satire that's the substance of the film. So it's there to serve a purpose greater than trying to be funny in and of itself. It's like a layer of funny, you know, in the onion that is the movie. So that's what I mean by a means to an end. Like it's
yes,
it serves the purpose. It's there to serve the satire, not to be funny unto itself, even though it is.
I agree generally, but I'm also really hung up on the crudity thing, and I kind of want you to make like a fragrance that's Crudity by Mulvey or something, because I think it would be really good.
Crudity
by Mulvey. And we can get you a big rig and you can drive around with Crudity written on the side of it. It'd be so good.
With a giant spray pump on the top that sprays everybody with Crudity a la Lincoln Hawk.
Exactly.
The commercial is like a noir detective thing where
fuck yeah.
You know, it's got to be in black and white, and Kev, you have to be the detective, and a girl has to like slap you and call you a heel, and it's like Crudity. You know,
exactly.
You heel.
All right. Crudity by Mulvey.
Eau de toilette.
You mean like from the toilet?
There you go. Nice loop back there.
Perfect tie-in.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
It's just so good.
So good. And the explanation of that as well was great too. So I didn't really get it.
The hostile takeover of all uses for water by Brondo and how they took over the FCC and the FDA and all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they bought the FDA and everything was Brondo. And like nobody got it. I love it. It just again, like the way everybody plays stupid so good in this movie.
It's perfect.
Yeah, so that when they, reveal things like that, everybody's just like, what? You know, it's just, wow.
The ultimate play out on the water from the toilet joke is when Not Sure leaves, or he's trying to leave, and they're like, well, what are we going to do about the garbage avalanches? And the one cabinet guy's like, oh, I know, we'll get water from the toilet and put it on it. They're so dumb that they're, it's like, oh yeah, that's the solution to everything.
It's got electrolytes, man.
The whole Not Sure is the smartest person in the world because of the aptitude test is just perfect.
Well, that was the other thing that I thought was really interesting and cool about this movie is that there's an interesting thing going on where they're taking somebody in 2005 who is absolutely average. You could say a bit of a moron, even though he's not really a moron. He's just sort of lazy and apathetic. And then you put him into the future world where those traits have become the mainstream thing. And all of a sudden, he's the most brilliant person on the planet. And then he ends up ruling the world, essentially.
Land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. You know, I didn't notice, obviously didn't notice it the first time, but, you know, when I watched it these couple times, I was like, that's kind of an interesting concept. Very cool. You know, so it's, and then that leads me to another point, which is that, you know, it's pretty brilliant. I mean, I think Mike Judge is brilliant. I think we all do. Most people do. But it's just amazing how he packed so much into this seemingly stupid movie, you know? Like that right there. Maybe it was unintentional, but...
Yeah, not to mention what we mentioned earlier about, you know, he's so out of touch with reading the signals that he doesn't pick up on Maya Rudolph's character being a prostitute and, you know, pushes her to be a good artist throughout. Like, he is clearly meant to be a below-average, apathetic schlub who just... graduates into being Albert Einstein, you know.
Stand by.
I'm sitting there editing Cobra, right? And I get to the Joe Fowler part, Kev's lifelong dream, you guys making fun of me, and what do? I start watching Joe Fowler videos again for like 45 minutes.
I want to take this opportunity to turn this into a mid-roll.
Joe Fowler videos again. Joe Fowler videos again. Joe Fowler. Joe Fowler. Joe Fowler.
Hi, Joe Fowler here. Joe Fowler here. Joe Fowler. Joe Fowler. Joe Fowler here.
Folks, please share this podcast with a friend, because if we can monetize this enough, Kev can quit his day job and just watch Joe Fowler videos full time with his new career as a wannabe infomercial star.
And that'll be great because it'll curb him from doing it in the middle of the podcast while we're recording.
He can have his own spin-off podcast, which is just infomercials.
I am looking for my son.
Hi, Joe Fowler.
Aha!
Aha!
Hi, Joe Fowler.
Joe Fowler videos again. Joe Fowler videos again. You too can help people like Kevin by donating to our podcast now. You too could save podcasts. So, getting back on track, I was extolling the brilliance of the, you know, sort of Luke Wilson being the idiot and then going into the future and everybody's an idiot and now he's the biggest genius on the planet. That's where we left off. Where else did you guys want to go?
I have no more notes. I'm very much free ball on this one.
Okay. I do have notes, just a few.
Well, what would you like to touch on, Kev?
Let's see what old Mulvey's got in his notebook.
You mean old Mulvey Higo? Old Mulvey? Old Mulvigo? That's totally a death, by the way.
That is such a death.
That's a death. That just did not work.
Couldn't come any sooner because we needed a death.
Fair enough.
I was just wondering if we should talk about the cast.
Sure. All right, so Ben, you want to talk about Dwayne, Herbert, Elizondo, Camacho, Camaro?
Yes, I do want to talk about Dwayne, Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert, Camacho.
That's it.
And how absolutely terrific Terry Crews is in this role with his, you know, star-spangled, I don't even know what he's wearing at one point. It's like something like maybe Prince would have worn or like
Randy
Cameo
Savage,
or
maybe.
something. It's like this like sleeveless frilly top with sort of like the hammer pants, and it's unbelievable, and like suspenders, and it's all star-spangled, and his Dutch boy wig, and I mean, come on, man.
Terry Crews, dude. Perfect casting. Him as the president is, in my mind, like equally awesome as the president from Fifth Element. To have another tie across, like he's just so perfect for it. It's just such a great casting.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a super over the top character, and he just hit it out of the park.
Yeah, no doubt.
Holy fuck, so good.
Firing machine guns into the ceiling of the Senate and flipping people off, and yeah, it's great. I love how it kind of like somewhat obviously, but also somewhat subtly kind of positions him as actually kind of a smart dude, you know, like he's kind of on par with Not Sure and Maya Rudolph's character, but kind of not at the same time. Like you can see how he rose to the top.
No, he is. He actually was able to assess the problem and find somebody that was suited to solving the problem, which, you know, is fairly good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what presidents do, right? I mean,
for sure. And not to derail the cast thing too much, but like one of the meta things that I took away from this is like once the movie's over, if this universe still just continued on, like can you imagine being one of 3 smart people? It would just be the most boring existence ever, you know? Like you would be trying to help and trying to fix things, but you're just constantly surrounded with stupidity, and like your only food you can eat is freaking Carl's Jr.'s or lard in a tub, you know, like it would just be so horrible, man. Like President Camacho must have been so fucking bored before finding these two. So it's a really funny, like weird little meta side thing.
Yeah. I was just thinking about Terry Crews. Like he's an interesting guy with an interesting history.
No doubt.
Having been, a professional football player for really only about 5 years, but still he played in the NFL for like 4 different NFL teams and then got into acting, and he's super versatile, man, you know, like he's great in the Expendables, you know, like action movies, and then it's interesting. He's kind of like against type. You know, he's a bodybuilder too, and he's, you know, in fantastic shape and all that sort of thing. But he's really funny, man. He's a really, really funny guy. And like you've seen him pop up in so many comedy movies, you know, like he had this great little part in, I don't know if either of you guys have seen Click with Adam Sandler. That in and of itself is an interesting movie because it's very funny in the beginning, and then it gets really dark and really sad at the end. But
it does.
Anyway, you cut it, and Hasselhoff's in it, which is great. But Terry Crews has the smallest part in that when he's driving to Adam Sandler's driving to work, and Terry Crews pulls up, and he's like the guy, like the overly happy guy in the convertible who's like, you know, singing the words to the song on the radio, and it's hysterical, man. He pops up in a lot of roles like that, you know, where you know has this little teeny bit part, and then like large parts too, and he really just knocks it out of the park every single time, and I think he's fantastic, and I was really psyched to see him get such a great billing in this movie. He's just really great, like Ben said. You know,
he kind of gives me a little bit of a proto John Cena, proto Rock vibe. Somebody transitioning from a completely different industry, but like making it work in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Although Cena, he's got a little bit of a different story going on there.
For sure.
But yeah, similar.
You know what I'm saying.
It's similar, for sure. No, I do know what you're saying.
They should make a movie with those exact 3 guys.
Dude, be so good.
Like an action comedy or whatever, you know. What?
So wait, you're talking about Terry Crews, Cena, and Bautista?
And The Rock.
And The Rock.
With maybe like a Bautista as the evil guy, and the other 3 are like 3 buddy cops that all like squeeze into a really small cop car or something.
You know what the ironic thing is about those 4 dudes? Is that none of them being like, you know, these guys weren't in theater when they were kids. They all discovered it later. 2 were wrestlers. 3 were wrestlers. If you put all 4 of those guys in a serious drama movie, I'll bet it would be amazing.
It probably would be, man. They have chops.
Because they could all, they do. And they could all bring it, man. You know, like they're really good. Like I think Cena's underrated, and he's doing a lot more films now, and he's a funny dude, man. So, you know, we all love Bautista and Guardians. I mean, Jesus. I bet that would be really, really good.
Dude, Bautista in Blade Runner, dude. He was fucking amazing in that.
Oh, my God, right? So good.
Really good. Did we talk about this in a previous episode? But there's like I don't know if it's like, you know, deleted footage or if it's just like something they put in as an extra for like the special release of Blade Runner 2049. But there's a whole thing with Dave Bautista as that character. There's like a whole little extra thing with him as that character that's like really cool. Yeah.
No.
I know what you're talking about.
No.
There were 3 different webisodes, little short web movies that were made, and they all had different timestamps in terms of when they took place, but they all took place between the end of the original Blade Runner and this story. And there were 3 or 4 of them, and I have them as part of the extra nuggets for the Blade Runner 2049, and I think you can find them on YouTube pretty easily. So that's what that is. Sorry.
I kind of like how you were saying that the mini-sodes take place between Blade Runner and this being Idiocracy in 2505.
Nice.
With like the trash
Yes.
mountains and stuff. I kind of see the universes melding a bit, and I like it.
Ooh, wait a second, man. You're right. There's a whole section of Los Angeles dedicated to trash in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, exactly. They just dialed up the saturation and gave everyone a feed nipple and a shit chair, and otherwise it's the same movie, basically.
Yeah, it's basically the same movie.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Same tone, you know. A think piece.
Nice one, C-Lab.
I love that talking about Terry Crews led to another cul-de-sac.
That's pretty funny. We got to get this show on the road. It's going to be a really long episode. Before we cul-de-sac too hard on this wrestler mashup that we're talking about, I just want to announce for the record that I love Owen Wilson. I always say Owen Wilson. I love Luke Wilson / Richie Tenenbaum in this movie. I also forgot that he existed in this movie, and I love him. He's fantastic.
He is great. He's I think he's really underrated too, man. He was really funny in Old School too.
Dude, he's amazing in Tenenbaums.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. It's like Owen completely ended up overshadowing him. Like, I feel like they kind of were like on the same ground for a little while, and then, you know, he just kind of like fell to the side. I don't know if that was just because, you know, he started a family and he didn't want to, you know, work as much anymore or something like that. But it is bizarre. But he's really great in this. He's just like, he plays the perfect average Joe, you know?
Joe the plumber. I mean, I'm not familiar with the rest of the cast, so it's probably not worth digging into, but there was some great bit parts throughout. You mentioned Dax Shepard earlier.
Yeah, Dax Shepard I thought was really great as Frito, and it's kind of funny. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say in an interview that, you know, I actually listened to his podcast, Armchair Expert. It's pretty good. He has a lot of great guests.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. But I'm pretty sure I heard him in an interview somewhere say like that, you know, just he did the Frito thing so well that people kind of assumed that he was mentally challenged or was, you know, otherwise compromised or just not very bright. And so I kind of followed him around for a little while.
For sure. Well, I mean, similarly, I think, you know, what I'm taking from what Benny was saying was he was assumed to be, you know, an idiot, but he's actually quite eloquent and whatnot, and it sounds like his podcast, if it's solid, is a similar thing, where it's not as much exposure as Avatar, but showcasing the fact that he's got chops in other areas or whatever.
Yeah, he's a pretty bright dude. He's done a ton of television. He's been in a bunch of movies, Dax Shepard. So it's not, you know, it's not like it's the only thing he's ever done. It's just a lot of people.
It's kind of what he's known for, though.
After he did that role, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that guy's dumb," you know.
There was a recent Willem Dafoe movie that takes place in a Florida hotel, which is a little bit depressing but interesting. And he's like interviewing with the 6-year-old girl who stars with her mother, who's kind of like a super trashy, you know, whatever character. And Dafoe is kind of like saying, he's like, you know, the little girl's like, you were in Spider-Man, you were, you know, Green Goblin. And he's just like, yeah, that's pretty much all anyone remembers me for. You know, so it seems like a lot of actors end up with the same kind of problem.
Good God.
Because Dafoe's been in so much shit, but like everyone's like, Green Goblin! You know, it's just like, oh my God, dude. It'd be so depressing.
Well, I mean, I guess that kind of, I guess it depends on kind of when you, I mean, that's an interesting sort of thing to bring up. It depends on when you see them, because for me, Dafoe will always be Elias from Platoon.
Yeah, and for me, he's always the chopper pilot in Clear and Present Danger.
Ooh, nice one.
For me, it's probably the Platoon role, but an honorable mention would be...
Knife, this is variable over. Sorry, Benny. Benny was just bludgeoned to death. You got your death, Benny. You were bludgeoned to death.
Okay, for the second time.
Sorry, bud.
Fuck. Et tu, Brute?
That's great.
Honorable mention would be Klaus from Life Aquatic.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
It's one of my favorite Willem Dafoe roles.
That's fantastic.
How we're on Willem Dafoe, who's not... we keep ejecting from this movie, so we must be getting close to...
to the finish line.
Wrapping it up.
No doubt.
Well, let's move on to scenes and stuff. I think we've covered...
Well, you know what? I mean, look, we got a little bit sidetracked on the cast, and I just ejected because I was looking for... because you guys started saying, what happened to Luke Wilson? You know, like, he kind of got overshadowed by his brother. But, I mean, he did...
That's why you were quiet.
Well, What else did you think it was? I mean, come
Well,
on.
I don't know. I don't want to assume you always eject from your own podcast, but
Fair enough.
it's funny when you do.
I just feel like I've heard about Owen Wilson being in tons of shit, and I don't, like maybe just Luke has been in less high profile stuff, or which is totally great.
Oh, he very much was, yeah.
I echo what Ben says. I think Luke is great, and I've seen him do dramatic stuff, and he's funny too. And it's like you just want to see more of him, man.
Definitely.
So who else? We have. We talked about Dax. We talked about Maya. What we love Terry Crews. What else?
You mentioned Justin Long in a game off moment as the doctor.
Dr. Alexis.
Yeah, who's best known in my mind as Bruno's sidekick in Die Hard 43, Live, Die, and Die, Die.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like Die Hard 3 or 4. He's just like the hacker dude. It's a terrible movie.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a shocker.
Yeah. But I just wanted to bring up Bruno because you know what they say about Bruce Willis. Seagrams. Go right cooler. Sing along, goddammit. Or you're both dead.
You gotta do the Picard sing jar he go sing thing, kind of.
Sing Jahi go sing. Good dog.
Sing, Mulvey, sing.
Sit, boo boo, sit.
And then we'll go to my ready room and have cheddar cheese.
So yeah, Justin Long was in this movie. That's pretty much it for the cast.
I've got some cast info, but I'm going to save it for Nuggets.
Yes,
Nuggets, do
me
it.
too.
I'm glad I didn't get sniped there.
Me too. So shall we move on to a couple of notable scenes? Oh, now you sing the goddamn song. Fuck you, Mulvey.
I didn't think. You know what? I got to be honest with you. I did not.
Golden wine cooler.
Yeah, I didn't think you were gonna sing it.
Why wouldn't I sing it?
I don't know. You surprise me all the time.
You know what they say about Bruce Willis, man. God damn it.
Kurt Willis.
It's getting way too close to Brucemas for us to be squabbling like this.
That's the
You're
whole
right,
point.
Ben.
This is
You're
the
right.
time that you go to the grocery store and it's still 3 weeks before Thanksgiving and the Mariah Carey "All I Want for Christmas" song comes on. That's what I'm doing here. I'm dropping an early Brucemas present for you.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Your heart is full of love, man,
Mhm.
and I'm feeling it, brother.
My heart is full of chunky knit sweaters and cigarettes at an airport bar. I'm all in.
Oh yeah.
The Brucemas decorations are already on display in stores.
Dude, we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Is it like a garland of cigarettes?
I could even posit that this is it could be the first Brucemas miracle of the year, right here.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I'm going to say on the air now that I have ordered your Brucemas presents and they are on their way, and I'm so fucking excited.
I think I know what I'm gonna get you guys now.
Yeah?
Gotta get on that. Now, does go ahead, Ben.
I've been thinking about it, but I still feel duped that you've already, you may not get, you're probably not going to get your Brucemas present on Brucemas Day.
No,
so
but that's okay. That's okay. I was kind of
Who's
more
the thought that
inspired
counts,
than
right?
trying to outshine y'all or whatever, but we got this is the proto Brucemas for the show, so we need to work out the kinks with how we want to make traditions and stuff,
That's true. That's true.
There's plenty of room for randomness.
I have a question regarding Brucemas. Does the Brucemas when one gives Brucemas gifts, do they have to be Kurt Willis related?
I mean, in terms of the originator of Brucemas, the dude and his buddy on Reddit, the answer is yes, but that doesn't mean that we need to follow that particular rule necessarily.
Okay.
I feel like we can make, Brucemas our own. It's like, different households have different traditions.
And in the House of N, this is how we do it.
In the EBD extended universe, we do it our own way, in case you didn't fucking notice.
Yeah, no, nobody noticed that.
Hey, we have lots of great Brucemas surprises that
We haven't even thought of yet.
will hopefully be coming in the future, depending on how well this podcast does.
That's it. And even if it doesn't do well and it fails in a blaze of glory, I'm still gonna celebrate Brucemas with y'all fuckers.
Oh, definitely.
Because why not?
Brucemas is never going to go away.
Nah, it's a Brucemas miracle.
No.
So Justin Long, yeah, that was the huge Bruce cul-de-sac.
Okay, so
Yes.
Justin Long was in this. You were talking about how he was in the crappy Die Hard sequel. And then we also had very, very brief as the CEO of Brondo was Thomas Haden Church.
Yes.
Did you just get sniped?
No.
Ah, good.
No, but I meant to make a note of that, and I didn't, and I forgot about it until you just mentioned it.
Yeah,
so
good call.
Yeah,
Hence my enthusiastic yes.
absolutely. He was, I don't know, people would probably best know him from Spider-Man 3.
Or that
playing
stupid wine
Sandman.
movie.
The stupid what movie?
Sideways.
Wine movie, that one that like blew up huge.
Dude, that was a great... Sideways is a great movie.
Yeah, it just wasn't my flavor. It doesn't mean it was... Yeah,
All right.
Just...
Wasn't your flavor?
More of a
love what you
Pinot
did
guy.
there.
Oh.
Oh, my God. Yeah, make it dumber.
That's what I do on the show. That's my shtick. I make it dumber. Come on.
I was going to say make it gayer, but...
Well, that would actually be perfect for this. Like, it's no longer able to be said, but it's worth noting, like, the amount of, like, yeah, he sounded like a fag. It was, like, perfectly written for this movie,
Loved
but just can't really be done anymore, you know? It was, like,
No, you can't.
cringy, and yet, like, the perfect example of the mentality of this individual kind of style of moron.
Yes.
Yes, I thought that was great. So, continuing on... Yeah, Thomas Haden Church, and then I mentioned before we had Stephen Root as the judge. That was great.
Shall we shift into notable scenes and kind of wrap this baby up?
No, let's definitely wrap it up. Benny, why don't you go first?
Give us a scene, Ben.
Okay. One scene that always sticks with me and cracks me up every time I think about it is Joe versus the tattoo machine.
Yeah,
Love it. One of the funniest parts.
It is just that whole exchange with him trying to correct the machine just sallying forth with not sure despite his best efforts. And, just I really noticed the look of the machine this time. And it's just really dingy and
Yeah, it's filthy.
It's disgusting.
filthy and gross and kind of like, I don't know, it just looks, it's just really like, I was like, oh, wow, he just stuck his hand right in that thing.
Yeah, dude. It's got like a porn booth vibe. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. There's something strangely pornographic or sexual about the machine itself. Like, there's just something like...
Did you
like,
did you see I'm pretty sure there was like a stain that was like...
oh, yeah. It's like a black, like just muck, like just mung, like
like the arm insertion area
dribbling down. That's years of use of just dribbling down from the hole. Yeah.
So gross. I'm almost uncomfortable, and I almost want to stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Please enter the
Almost.
name on your card. Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay, you have stated your name is not sure.
Please
You know what it is,
confirm.
Ben? It's like it's a really good like sort of take on the whole "Who's on first" routine that Abbott and Costello did.
It is.
those many years ago, and it ends up playing really, really humorously.
And then the last moment where the thing is like, "Are you sure with this?" He's like, "No, I'm not sure." And it's like, "Confirmed." Like,
yeah, it is like Who's on First, and it's so it's a testament to Luke Wilson and his comedic abilities in this movie. It's just played so good.
Agreed, and the writing of Mike Judge as well. Yeah,
it'd be a tough scene to act for sure. Not sure.
All right, next one, Benny.
I'll throw one
I
out
get
real
two?
quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, I do.
I do mind actually. I want Ben to rattle his list off, Chad.
Yeah, too bad. You mentioned this earlier, Kev, but the big ass fries and big ass taco scene I really enjoyed, where like the lady's trying to get something and then she gets gassed, and it's just such a stupid and funny corporate moment.
Yeah, and she's trying to allegedly feed her kids.
Yeah.
Great.
I might also argue that, like, I always found that one really funny because of the extra big ass fries and the extra big ass tacos, now with more molecules. Or whatever it is.
More electrolytes.
No, it actually says like now with 10% more molecules or whatever. Just the fact that it's like, the poor mom is like broke, and it's like it charges her for the last money in her account. She's like, but my kids are starving, and it's like Carl's Jr. will take possession of your children.
Yes.
like it's funny, and it's also like just really
So
kind of
dark.
sad and scary and dark.
It is dark.
The beginning of it is her in the classic vending machine taking your money and then the item gets stuck kind of thing,
Yeah.
which we've all been there at some point in our lives too, which is just like the way that he weaves this stuff together is just masterful, man. Like, it's just, there's usually 3 or 4 layers there's 3 or 4 layers to every joke, and I just love it.
Yeah.
Next.
Just in the beginning, when he first encounters Frito's like sitting there on the toilet, Barca Lounger, and he says, "Go away, Baton." It's like, wow, that's great. I mean, talk about lazy and dumb. Can't even say the whole word.
It
Masturbating.
was like the masturbating channel on TV and stuff. Oh, it's just fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah, really, really good.
He's like, oh yeah, cut me a piece, and then they show, you're like, oh god, and then they show what's happening on the screen, and it's like a woman cutting a steak with her toes,
And like 2 knives. Super weird. I love when they go to Costco, and I love the guy at the door. Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you.
That is great. Yeah,
And his delivery is just perfect. Super special.
perfect.
The perfect Walmart greeter.
It really feels like he's trying to feel the love on each I love you. And that's what makes it really memorable. I love how the House of Representatives is called the House of Representin'. So good.
Definitely.
Starbucks coffee for men. Love that. Just the whole, as a Starbucks lover myself, the whole portrayal was just hysterically funny.
Yeah, Frito and the cameraman
Yes.
exiting the Starbucks. There's some pretty good stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the inclusion of Starbucks and Costco I thought were fantastic in this movie.
Yes, and H&R Block and
The other thing I have, let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, the president's speech. All right. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but he starts delivering his speech, and then he changes the tone of the speech to more of like a preaching kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Like halfway through it, and it was
Total Coming to America.
exactly. It was a total kind of horsedy over to Coming to America from the Reverend, played by Arsenio Hall, which was fantastic. Just scratched me where I itched because I love that movie. So the courtroom art I found very funny. It was like kind of crappy comic book art, and everybody had like a ripped sleeveless shirt on and like a bad haircut, and they're like punching somebody in every one of the pieces of artwork.
the artist's depiction.
The newswoman was talking about a story, and the guy's name was Tylenol Jones. I thought that was great.
Dude, all the names were fantastic.
The names were fantastic. The Beef Supreme and his vehicle, the Dildozer, fantastic. Love that.
Oh my god, yeah, the Dildozer, the Ass Blaster, and the Ass Dozer, which was the giant one that destroyed the stadium upon its attempted entrance.
The last thing I have was just the whole thing about the time machine, and then they finally go to the time machine, and it's spelled time is spelled normal, and then it's a stupid carnival ride, and it's spelled Masheen. I thought that was so great.
Yeah, there's great stuff there. Charlie Chaplin leading the Nazis,
Yeah, that was also good.
finally defeated by the Un.
The yes.
I love how he turns to Frito and he's like, "So you knew it was just a ride the whole time and you didn't say anything?" He's like, "Yeah, I tricked you, but like I really wanted to get the money." And they're like, "That like I couldn't get you any money." And he just looks like he has that broken look on his face. It's just like doesn't understand. I can totally understand how Dax Shepard was assumed to be an idiot with just how well he played the dumb looks.
Yeah, he really did such a great job as Frito. Like, it's such a memorable character, and yeah, it's outstanding. NDR?
Oh, yes. Nuggets. Can't wait for this.
Ben, you go first.
So glad there's
no
been-
snipes, no snipes.
No snipes so far.
Well, I had the recent dual, what did we call it?
Dual bludgeoning death?
Dual bludgeoning death, yes. Yeah, where you guys just mercilessly talked over me as I was trying to, get a thought out of my often impossible to get thoughts out of noggin. So
Yes.
there's that. Yeah. So thanks.
Got all those recorded out. You're
I
welcome.
need more deaths, and I'm glad you guys are finally just ganging up and killing me.
So is that you telling us what your death was? Because we're on Nuggets, and if that's the case, that you just died again.
Ooh.
Yes, and I just killed myself. So
You skipped a segment there, bro. That's a death.
it's not DNR.
Negative, bro. It's
I thought it was
GNR.
DNR. I'm usually not involved in this portion of the show, so I'm a little confused. You'll have to forgive me.
It's okay. It's a good show to be confused on. The lowest common denominator here is pretty good.
It's making for good show lore too, Ben. So it's good.
Okay, so my first nugget, speaking of the Wilson brothers,
Go for it. Yes.
Beef Supreme is played by Andrew Wilson, which is the third lesser-known Wilson brother.
No shit.
God damn you and you knipe snugging little turd.
That's amazing.
Oh, God. That was one of my good ones.
I love it, Benny. That's fantastic.
God. Go ahead.
Well, if you don't have any other ones, I'll offer up the one that Chad sniped from me before we even started the show.
In the pregame?
Oh, please. Yeah. Do that one.
I love it.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
So If nobody has ever sat through the credits of this movie, post-credit scene, the Pimp upgrade awakes from a third stasis capsule and immediately goes looking for Rita.
I mean, to be fair to Upgrade,
Nice.
he's probably developed such a strong bond with her that it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of loved her.
Well, you see, Chad, a Pimp's love is very different from that of a square.
I served that up so poorly, but thank you.
I don't
thank
think
you.
it was that bad. He was able to just scoop it right up, man. It was nice.
Dude, what I love about that post-credit scene is that for the first time in my life, I think I'm kind of stoked with the post-credits hinting at a sequel. Like, I would love for there to be a sequel of this. Because if you think about it, Upgrade's coming back. He's going to be now the third or fourth smartest person in the world. He's, like, set up to be the supervillain against the president and the first lady. Like, it would be an amazing movie.
Totally. That would be great.
Yeah, there's something there for sure.
You know, it's funny, like, and it's totally, the whole thing is plausible because Upgrade was in on it the entire time.
That's true.
But throughout the movie, I was like, oh, there's no way Upgrade is ever going to find her in the future. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, him and Collins are like buddies. I mean, Collins ends up trying to become a pimp. So, yeah.
Pimp Empire, yeah, right. Trafficking hoes.
So it's completely plausible that there was a third stasis pod that nobody else knew about. With 2 Ds for double the pimpin'.
Exactly, man.
So who do you think would win, Horse Dealers or Upgrade?
Whores.
Yeah, I don't think we got to see enough of Upgrade's pimp game, you know?
Yeah, no.
So I think, you know, if it was up to me, I would go with Horse Dealers.
Fair enough, man.
Definitely one of our more interesting directions.
I think he had good pimp game. I would be like, oh yeah, I do want to see some titties. All right, I do want to hop in your bad chariot. Let's go.
I'd like to take the opportunity to tack on to your nugget with Upgrade is played by rapper Scarface, who...
God, you are such a tool. You just sniped my other nugget. Oh my God, man.
Who did the opening song in the rapping scene with Michael Bolton in Office Space.
Oh, you're just ruining my morning, man.
Sorry, Wolfie.
Such a loser. Not even your turn, you know, just,
You got to get in quick around here, bud.
I'm going to go comb my mustache. No, I was waiting for my turn to drop that one.
I wasn't.
Yeah, clearly.
Sorry, bro.
You Anyway, all right, go ahead, Betty. Next item.
Oh, that was all I had.
Let's see what I have left.
You need
I don't have anything left. Because all my supposed friends just sniped all my nug.
That's what friends are for, man.
Not entirely true. Michael Bolton was in this movie as the Secretary of State, for anybody that didn't notice that, which is great.
I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be David Herman. He's a funny guy. And I loved how he was paid to say Carl's Jr.
Dude, that was the best.
You know, your reckless nug sniping and just jumping in this section is now I want you to die. That's where I'm at. So you've earned a death wish death. As I was just about to start my nuggets, you were like, "Oh, let me just jump in here 1 second with another nugget."
I'm just trying to, thread the needle.
No, it's all good. You just earned a death wish by doing that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair. What you got, brah?
We got a lot of late game deaths coming in here, even in the Nuggets section. I don't think we've had that happen before.
Hey, man, whatever. We got to get it done.
All right, so I had David Herman. A lot of Office Space alum in this. Obviously, Scarface even got a role in it. But the guy that was the O-Face guy from Office Space was the cameraman who went with Frito to check out the plants and got
that's
held
why
up
you
in the
look
Starbucks.
familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Love the O-Face guy.
That's
He was
pretty
very
good.
memorable from Office Space. And could have swore I had another one, but I don't. That's it.
All right, I got one remaining nugget. It's a bit of a random one, but
Oh, Stephen Root as well as Office Space alumni.
Yes, that's true.
mentioned earlier, but it's a good tie into Office Space. I've got one remaining nugget, which is I thought it was interesting. To tie back to the MC Hammer branded sateen outfits we talked about, the wardrobe had to be something that's not around at the time, of filming, and so the lady that was in charge of wardrobe found Crocs, and evidently this was before Crocs were actually released, period.
Yes. I saw those on his feet.
And so got a bunch of Crocs. They shot it. No one was wearing Crocs, and showed them to Mike Judge, and he said, "Oh, those are great. Stupid plastic shoes." And then he said, "But you actually bought these. You can order these. What if by the time the movie comes out, these things are everywhere and it doesn't look like we're set in the future?" And she said, "Oh, no, that's never going to happen." So I just think it's hilarious that these guys found Crocs before they came out. And it turns out that it was like the first example of it actually going live and the movie coming to life. Because Crocs are just the worst goddamn pieces of footwear ever.
They are, and everybody has them.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or did have them when they were super popular.
Because of how they look, I've never put that. It's like, I think somebody put up a meme with like Jason Voorhees and like the hockey mask with like the holes in it. And then like a croc, and like it was like Jason Voorhees like with a heart, you know, like thought bubble, you know, like holding a croc.
That's funny.
I've never been able to bring myself to put them on, but people claim they're very comfortable.
They are comfortable?
I had a pair when I was hiking. They're great camp shoes because they weigh nothing. But that's the only pair I've ever owned.
I've considered it, but never done it.
The old hiking excuse, eh?
That's it.
There you go.
That's it.
You know, old C-Lab.
I like walking. Did it all in one go. Now I drive around in a fat person cart.
All right, let's move on. You guys want to move on to deaths?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already did it.
yeah. Benny died early.
All right, so Benny's false start on the deaths incurred him a death. So we had Chad's tried to sort of butchered an old Wolverine thing.
Old Molv Higo. Old Kev
Mid-show
Higo.
that just old Kev Higo that crashed and burned. I had an ejection death. We bludgeoned Ben to death twice.
Yes.
Then Ben skipped the segment and incurred a death there, and then I had a death wish on Chad when he annoyed me with his nug sniping.
Hey, whatever.
Nug snipery.
The best thing about when you get annoyed is that I find it entertaining.
Yes.
I do too.
That's good.
As do our listeners, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And that's all the deaths we have.
A rating.
Ratings? C-Lab, you go first. You brought it to the table.
All right. It'll come as no surprise that in the algorithm it's not going to fare overly well, but
Not surprised.
I was still super entertained. So it's a funny and silly look at a more realistic sci-fi universe. I love sci-fi, and I kind of secretly, maybe not so secretly, love that it's an attempt to build a sci-fi universe that is probably more realistic than a lot of the, altruistic utopias that most sci-fi universes are set in, or even cyberpunk dystopias. It's just kind of like a stupid topia. And based on our recent experience, it really feels very realistic in a way, which is sad and yet makes it kind of funny to watch. The film is firmly in meh territory, but I had a good time. And the fact that it was short and sharp kind of was a bit of a bonus for me. I kind of enjoyed that it wasn't 3.5 hour long Peter Jackson shite fest.
Epic.
So it ends up at a 3.1. It beats Ready Player One and Robot Jocks, but is beaten by Prometheus and Thor: The Dark World.
What? Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like Thor: The Dark World, while it's been a punching bag on this show, I don't know. They took a swing.
They did.
And it was a bigger thing and had a lot of moving parts, whereas this maybe not so much. Although I did rate it before I read about all of the 20th Century Fox torpedoing and stuff, so that was pretty fucked up. But either way, it's just firmly in meh territory. I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it. It's stupid and funny, and it'll hopefully kind of take your mind off of this week's shit showery of the actual election stuff. So that's kind of my thinking.
All right. I'm with it. Thank you for sending the Brondo FDA food pyramid jar ego.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Check your show art, everybody.
That is associated with my improbability-driven rating.
I like it. Go.
If you could see the food pyramid, the Idiocracy food pyramid, you would see that the majority of the pyramid, at least most of the top of the pyramid, is all Brondo the Thirst Mutilator.
For good reason.
Brondo, most each day. Brondo, more. Brondo, even more. And Brondo, a shitload. So this movie gets Brondo in the Idiocracy food pyramid.
Roger that. A shitload of Brondo.
All right. I like it. That's
Which
good.
viewing might say that it's 4 out of 8, but that's not really. It's actually the food pyramid, so it's the top is skewed versus the bottom.
Right. It fills the primary food groups.
Right. Yeah. So something more akin to an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, leaving the rest for things like grease and smokes.
Yeah, I dig that. The convenience group.
And hand jobs.
Don't forget the hand jobs.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't, like, as I said, I didn't care. I didn't love this when I first saw it. I don't think I really got it. I certainly didn't watch it through the right lens. This time, though, I definitely recommend it. There's a lot more going on here than I think you can realize at first glance. So,
would you say there's more than meets the eye?
and just sort of, I would say that. More than meets the eye here for sure. And it's funny and it's Mike Judge and all that. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Solid.
Yeah, it's a solid, I would definitely watch it again. I don't know if I'm going to watch it again, but, it's good.
I mean, you doubled up
and I
this
enjoyed
week,
it.
So it might take a bit of a break.
It might take a bit of a break. I definitely enjoyed it more this time around, and I think it's definitely worth watching. And it's cult, and it is somewhat of a documentary now. So, yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, 6.5.
I like you.
As do I. So that's that, folks. We hope you enjoyed our rendition of Idiocracy. Sassy Squirrel, what do we got going on next week?
I am so pleased to announce that we will be doing the Bill Paxton Spectacular True Lies next week.
Well, there you have it. Next week, we're doing True Lies.
Classic.
94 classic. I think 94. Anyway, well, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. So please join us for that. Brucemas is upon us, folks. So get out your Brucemas gear.
Get out your fucking checkbooks.
And get out that too. That's all I got. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on another time.
See ya.
I think we're riding away on. I think there should be a new vehicle that's part of the EBD universe, and that's President Camacho's motorcycle.
Ooh, the trike.
Yes.
Or trike, as it were. That's like multi-person.
Yeah,
I think we could do better than a motorcycle with a sidecar when we're all in agreement. Like, we should actually have the Camacho mobile.
I like it.
Dude, I do not understand those trikes, and yet I am so on board that tricycle.
That thing was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're riding off into the sunset. Drinking beer. Get me a beer, Mulvey. Get yourself one, too.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to support the show, there are many, many great ways to do that. You can rate us, review us on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast muffins. You can also tell somebody to check out the show. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about the show. You can also leave us a review. That is very helpful and very powerful on your podcast sort of medium of choice. And thank you to all of those that have done so already. You can find the show notes for this episode in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/79. You can find us on any and all social media using the handle @EBD Podcast. So get out there, follow us, join in on the conversation. We spend a lot of time on Instagram and Facebook chatting with people, so please join in on the chat. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be talking about the Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold classic James Cameron film, True Lies, next week, and I'm excited for that. Thanks again for tuning in, folks, and we'll see you next time.
For some reason, Orange Sassy Squirrel always makes me think of Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob.
I'm not familiar with that character, and I did just start watching that show as my kids just discovered it.
Well, Sandy Cheeks is a squirrel that's like wearing an astronaut suit. And she's
yes.
Like visiting the underwater world. Yeah. For some reason, that's always what pops into my head.
I like it.
It's the mashup of C-Lab and,
Yeah, absolutely, man. You could sort of see like a miniaturized cartoon version of Chad in an astronaut suit.
but Chad as like a squirrel.
Yeah, right, exactly. But with like dumb squirrel makeup, like in like a hee-haw kind of way, you know?
Chad as a squirrel, but in like a more of like a, you know, a 50s depiction of a spacesuit, I think would be more appropriate.
Yes, most definitely.
That's perhaps like inappropriately revealing in certain ways.
Like a pinup girl?
As it was in the 50s, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything was like highly sexualized still, you know? Or what's the word I'm looking for?
Hypersexualized?
Well, no, not hypersexualized. That's not the word I mean. Not hypersexualized, but just the sort of like the women were still sexualized. So like, you know, for instance, you'd have like the woman's spacesuit would have like a skirt. You know what I mean? Like so.
Right, and like a plunging neckline.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Objectification more than hypersexualization.
I think Orange Sassy Squirrel's skin-tight spacesuit should have a plunging neckline.
Totally.
Oh man, you know what we need to do, Ben? We need to do a duo in City of Heroes: Horsdy Over and Orange Sassy Squirrel.
Yeah, I'll be your bitch.
There you go.
Horsdy Overs. At some point, I want to posit who would win in a deathmatch upgrade with 2 Ds for double the pimpin', or Horsdy Overs.
The pimp robot.
The pimpin' robot.
Oh man, it's like Drinkbot. I love it. The Pimpin' Robot, Horsdy Over.
Now, is Horsdy Over like modeled on the pimp robot in terms of look from Ice Pirates, or is it just kind of a loose modeling?
I mean, I just posited that that would be a great name for that pimp robot. So
Definitely.
it doesn't have to be, but now that's kind of what I picture.
Yeah.
I think it should definitely talk like that, you know?
Yeah. And then if you took all those ideas and mash them up, and then of course you're kind of constricted by what you could do in the character creator in City of Heroes, even though it's probably one of the best ones ever made. Still, you definitely couldn't do exactly that, really not even close, but you could still come up with something really funny, no doubt.
I'm picturing kind of the body would be, you know, human-like in the sense that like the video game robot from Kung Fury, as opposed to like a rolling Johnny Five robot, you know, but like the torso and head and arms of the Ice Pirates robot, if that makes sense.
I'm feeling that. I like that.
I like it. I like it
a lot.
I mean, really, you could get creative as long as he, you know, is like, yo, blood, y'all want to see some titties?
Yeah, exactly.
I love the Lite Brite style face on that robot. Like, that's just my favorite part about it.
I was just going to use the same wording to describe that. Lite Brite. That's what it reminded me of as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, Lite Brite is such a good example of something that I was like, I saw the ad for when I was 5. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and wanted it so bad. Never got it, and then like stumbled upon one a couple years later at a friend's house and was like, this is the dumbest shit.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was cool for the time.
Maybe. But it's one of those things, like I've told you about during our Kung Fury episode, where I wanted a power glove, and I got one, and it was a useless piece of shit, you know?
Yes.
That's because technology sucked back then, you know?
Yeah,
so
I guess.
You know, and they didn't even really pump things up that much on the commercials, but to the level that they did do it, it would sort of oversell it, you know, and make you think it was amazing, and then you'd get a lot of stuff, and it just sucked. Like the Power Glove, like the Lite Brite, you know?
Yeah. I didn't have a Nintendo Entertainment System, but a buddy of mine did. And, you know, he got like the full setup with the robot.
Okay, yep.
Remember the little, I forget what the robot's called. It's like Bob or something like that. It's a perfect example of that, where I was just like, I always wanted him to hook up the robot. I was like, dude, you got to hook up the robot, man. Like, it really sucks. Like, it's not cool. I was like, yeah, but it is. Like, you know, like I just wanted to, like, I thought it was so cool. And then he finally hooked it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, all right. This is the biggest piece of shit ever.
Yeah. It's like the glove.
The coolest thing I ever saw about the glove, though, in like a weird cul-de-sac nugget, I think it might have been Robot Chicken, but something stop motion. There was a stop motion artist that rigged up a power glove to be how he took the stop motion photos. So he would like move the character and then push a button on a power glove, and it would take the photo. So it allowed him to like triple his speed. It was like the most creative and interesting and cool uses for a power glove.
Wow. I really like
It was
that.
super nerdy,
And
I dug it.
Well, it's super nerdy. It's also sad that ultimately was the ultimate use for the Power Glove.
Well, I mean, you could argue that the ultimate use for the Power Glove was the Hacker and Kung Fury, but
that's what I would argue. But
the use of that for Kung Fury's time traveling escapades,
so good.
which makes me using the word escapade with Kung Fury kind of makes me want to have a Kung Fury themed icecapade.
Ooh.
I don't know how that's not already a thing.
Maybe it is.
I don't know how it's not already a thing
Maybe it
either,
is a
because it's
thing.
just the idea is like just staring you in the face.
I mean, Triceracop doing like a double axle triple Lutz, like I would be so pumped.
Now, I think it would be better if it was kind of like the Grublets from Blades of Glory, where nobody's really doing any like ice skating. They're just kind of chasing each other around on the ice, like lamely, like not really having any skating skill, as
Right.
somebody that's a
Just failing.
whatever many years ice skater myself.
Yeah, but not figure skating, to be clear. It was hockey.
Yes, that is clear.
Just worth clarifying for the record. Let the record show.
The Wolverine on ice.
Oh,
EVD, mic'd up, lavalier mic, live showscapade.
live showscapade. That's what we should call it.
That's why I just named it that.
Nice. Love it. Mulvey on ice. You'll be amazed when you see Mulvey on ice.
Yeah, I'll be on the Zamboni with you.
Which the funniest thing, I don't know about you, Benny, but I'm the shittiest ice skater ever. So it'll just be like floppy ankles C-Lab in a fucking in an orange unitard, low cut with floppy ankles.
No, one of you would have to come out driving the Zamboni.
Okay,
That's what I was going to say.
I'll rock paper scissors you for the Zamboni.
We should drive the Zamboni right in front of you, Kev, so you constantly always have like a perfectly,
Ooh,
like fresh area to skate on,
a fresh sheet.
a fresh path.
Yes,
Yeah.
like it's sort of like a poor man's Iceman,
There you go.
Like instead of like creating the ice from your hand and sliding on it, we
The Zamboni just like driving down the road with you slowly skating
Exactly.
behind it. I love it.
because we don't have that kind of money, so we use a Zamboni instead.
Right.
Because Zambonis are just, they're super cheap.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're only like
Find them on
100
eBay all
grand,
the time.
200
Nothing.
grand.
I just get a used one.
There you go.
Use shit. You have Zamboni that makes the ice worse.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how we ended up here, but I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I think that would be there's something there. I don't know. We need to incorporate that into the EBD universe. The idea of the skates and the Zamboni in front of it. It's almost like the superpower would be controlling the Zamboni that doesn't have a driver to make the ice so you can slide all over the place.
That's it. You have telepathic powers, but only to drive a Zamboni. You were bitten by a radioactive Zamboni.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe that's it, Controlling the Zamboni is the travel power,
Right.
of Mulvey instead of the old
Moldsmobile? That's really funny though. I just a Batman outfit without a head, without a helmet, Wolverine chops, always out claws that cause you lots of trouble, and you like slowly skating behind a Zamboni because you were bitten by a radioactive Zamboni. I'm totally on board.
I like it. A radioactive
Chad,
Zamboni.
I think you should be sweeping ahead of the Zamboni, for curling.
Yeah, curling. Orange sassy curler.
Orange sassy curler. I like it.
Sassy curl, yeah.
It'd be really funny if it's like, so you got me behind the Zamboni, I'm controlling it with my telekinetic powers, and then, using it to steer where I go, and then the two of you are in the front doing the sweeping together like they do in those curling matches.
Well, the reason that we're doing the sweeping is because you're taking so fucking long to get anywhere that we might as well just stick with you and make a stupid game out of it.
Right, of course, because the Zamboni only goes like 3 miles an hour tops.
Yeah. So you're like skating slowly with your arms just completely like wet noodles at your side, like so frustrated with how slow you're going. But we're just like hamming it up out front.
I love
Honestly,
it,
it
man.
was the only thing we could think of to try and make the Zamboni go faster.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's good. That's really, really good. I don't know if the folks at home don't know that I'm actually a seasoned veteran Zamboni operator.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I operated one for many years in multiple locations.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And the first one that I learned to drive on was actually the old Zamboni from a professional ice hockey sports team, the Hartford Whalers.
This might be the first official show meta nugget.
Oh, nice, Benny. Yes, the brass bonanza, baby. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, we got to throw the brass bonanza either as part of the show music or in the notes.
Oh man, I wish we could use that as our theme song.
There you go.
It would be so good.
Just chuck it out. Chuck out the theme and use the brass bonanza. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I like how I just like randomly came back from a piss, and you're like, yeah, and then Orange Stashy Squirrel is gonna have like a slutty dress. I was just like, what?
Yeah, that's how it started. Because Ben said that Orange Sassy Squirrel, the name reminds him of Sandy. What is it? Sandy Cheeks.
Oh, Sandy Cheeks, the best character from
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Yeah.
The Texas episode specifically being one of my favorites. Get a dog, little Augie. Get a dog.